and everything are just being announced, and I can tell you the finalists for Most Valuable Player of the National Football League are as follows. There are 5 of them, and you see them on your screen. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Justin Jefferson. Nice to see a non-quarterback in there. Obviously, Jefferson had one of the great seasons we've ever seen from a wide receiver in NFL history. Let's bring it out and talk about it. Dominique Foxworth, I'm giving you the first vote.
Yeah, well, Jefferson, it's nice to see him in there, but he doesn't stand a chance. I would love for a non-quarterback to win it, but I think it's easy. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
Yeah, what he's done, the job that he's done is remade a team. They're winning in a different way. All those other quarterbacks are very good, but we're kind of seeing them on their first run. And Patrick Mahomes has had better numbers than them, and offensively has been better than them in a recreation of this offense. And I think that's incredibly impressive. We always talk about how a team's going to continue to win once they start playing their quarterback. Mahomes did do a flexible deal for them, but it's still really impressive without Tyreek Hill. And with a paid quarterback, they rebuilt their offensive line, and he's finding a way to still cook no matter what.
I think that was the real thing. Everyone coming into the season, well, what would the Kansas City Chiefs offense look without Tyreek Hill? They haven't missed a beat.
No doubt.
They haven't missed a beat. And big reason why is the quarterback. The quarterback played outstanding. I think he's going to be the runaway winner of the MVP award.
Simply put, he's a standard. He is the best quarterback. And we do end up discounting what Patrick Mahomes can do because he makes it look easy, but we should not do it. What he's been able to do with this offense, with these players, it is impressive.
Yeah, I'm not discounting what he can do. This is his 5th straight conference championship game that he's hosting at home. They might as well rename the AFC Championship game the Pat Mahomes Invitational.
Yeah.
But, I think Pat Mahomes is going to ultimately end up winning it, but it's a shame that Jalen Hurts got hurt in Week 15 in Chicago because I thought he was on pace to win the MVP. He had 35 total touchdowns to only 8 turnovers. Greeny, over the last 5 years, there's only been 3 quarterbacks to have more total touchdowns in the same amount of turnovers or less. That's Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson. All of those guys got MVP. It felt like it was Jalen Hurts to lose. Unfortunately, he's going to lose it on an injury.
His season needs to be celebrated. And I think also Joe Burrow, what he's accomplished so far, needs to be celebrated. But we need to stop short of saying that if he wins this weekend, he going to overtake. Because I'm not going to name any names or point any fingers. But somebody earlier in the show suggested that if Joe Burrow won this weekend, that he then becomes the best quarterback in the league. That there is absurd because Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback.
Let me say it this way. Let me say it this way. There's levels to this, right? There's tiers to this. Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow, tier 1, in a separate room by themselves. Now, when you start having that tier 2 conversation, it gets interesting. Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, all of those names get tossed around in there. For me, the top guy in tier 2 has got to be Jalen Hurts. And I think that was the clearest thing we learned on divisional round weekend.
I know you looking crazy and stuff like that, but that boy from Cincinnati is a stone cold killer.
Yes,
Is a stone cold killer. So sign me up for that guy any day.
I'm not, see, that's the argument. I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying that it feels wrong to to even have this question about him, considering what Patrick Mahomes has done up until this point. Joe Burrow is incredible, but Patrick Mahomes has led incredible.
He's the standard.
Yeah,
he's the standard.
Before this game, which I covered, nobody was talking about Joe Burrow like, oh, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Everybody was like, oh, it's Josh Allen, it's Patrick Mahomes.
I said that last year. I said he's one of the best quarterbacks.
As this season, the beginning of this season, the narrative was, will Allen displace Mahomes as the best quarterback in football? Now the conversation is, will Burrow displace him?
I'm going to need a few more seasons before we start discussing anybody in the same conversation as a man by the name of Patrick Mahomes, because he's been doing it since he stepped on the grass. He winning Super Bowls. I think it's
LeVar?
My bad. LeVar Mahomes. So he's been winning. He's been participating in championship games, winning Super Bowls, breaking records since he walked in, leading incredible comebacks, throwing memorable passes in the Super Bowl, and having the best losing Super Bowl game that we've ever seen in history, where he's levitating sideways and hitting dudes in the face mask with a ball from 25 yards away. So y'all need to chill out with this Joe Burrow talk. That's all. That's all. He's great. I love Joe. He's cool. The spin was nice, but he's not Patrick.
To leave it there, we all think that Patrick Mahomes is going to win the MVP. All the different finalists for all the different awards are available right now. Meanwhile, we continue. Tomorrow night on ESPN, College Game Day tips off our fiction. Damian Woody, Factor Fiction. The Cowboys cannot win the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott as their quarterback.
Oh, that's fiction. Fiction. Now, listen, Dak Prescott is more than capable of winning a quarterback. And the one thing that I pointed out, I think Dak Prescott needs a couple more pieces around him. He's a guy that we've seen glimpses of what Dak did this year, particularly in that wild card game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
We need to see that more on a consistent basis from him.
Dominique, Jerry Jones needs a Super Bowl win to secure his legacy. Is that fact or fiction?
That's absolute fiction. Like, I think we already know who Jerry Jones is. He's got 3 Super Bowls already, and I think that his legacy is broader than, like, on the field. It's probably more about impact on the financial standing of the league and the growth of his team. So I don't think another Super Bowl changed the way we think about Jerry Jones.
Perhaps. He is actually one of the few owners who's in the Hall of Fame as well.
Right.
So that's worth noting. Chris Canty, the Cowboys should fire Mike McCarthy. Fact or fiction?
That's a fact. The Cowboys window is closing, and the question is, can your head coach be the difference in winning games in the postseason? And I think we've seen the last 2 postseasons that that's not the case with Mike McCarthy. So you can't get rid of the quarterback. You're going to have a hard time hanging on to core players. Get rid of the head coach. Try to get somebody in there that's an upgrade.
Okay, we discussed this earlier this morning, and it led to a good deal of disagreement at the desk, which I generally like. And then Damian Woody made a request, and he doesn't do that often, but he said, we need to come back to this. And so we have. So Chris Canty has posed that the Cowboys need to make a change at head coach. Damian Woody, what do you think of that?
Man, I had a lot of time to really ponder this one. I've really
Come on,
pondered this
Bishop.
one.
Give me that good word.
And
Give me the word.
I just look at the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, man. Like, I was listening to Chris, and I'm like, you know what? You're making you making some sense here.
Don't do
You're
it.
really making
Don't do it.
making some
Don't do
sense
it.
because, like, I look at the Dallas Cowboys, and you're right. We talked about the Cowboys. Like, they're one of the most explosive teams in the National Football League offensively. Weren't they like scoring like over 30 points a game?
They were.
Scoring. Their defense awesome. And we constantly talk about their head coach, whether it's, mismanagement of the time mismanagement, just all these type of blunders. And what are you going to really change? What are you going to change about the Cowboys? You're not changing Dak.
No.
You're not going to do that. Like, that is out. That's out of the question. But the coach is easily replaced, though. And Jerry Jones it's like Jerry Jones have constantly talked about like his football mortality, like time is a ticket. Well, if time is a ticket, then you need to go out there and get you a difference maker at the head coaching spots. That's all I'm gonna say.
Listen, Linda. Here's the problem. Earlier, you said Dak Prescott is not a force multiplier. Dak ain't this. I don't know if we can win it.
I'd have to come off of that.
Pause.
Okay.
But now we're saying, well, we can't get rid of the QB, so what the hell? Get rid of that. Like, what kind of logic is that?
strategy.
One. Number 2, you just pointed out to me at this table that the Cowboys offense was leading the league in scoring. All of a sudden, though, Dak's the problem. All of a sudden, Mike McCarthy, the problem. Get rid of everything. Just because you can change something doesn't mean you should change something, right? Yes. Okay.
That really is the question. No one is going to make an argument that Mike McCarthy has done his job so badly that we absolutely need to fire him. No one, including Chris Canty, is going to make that argument.
Yeah.
The argument is, does something need to be shaken up? Do we need to change, make a substantial change?
To this roster?
Like a shock to the... Yesterday I described it as being like a defibrillator. Like you need like a boom. You need something to shake everything up.
Yeah, how about Sean Payton as your head coach? Ooh. How about that guy? I mean, is anybody at this table going to sit here and argue that Mike McCarthy is a better head coach than Sean Payton?
I mean, their resumes are very similar, but I get your point.
No. When it comes to the innovation on the offensive side of the ball, play design, all of those things, but you're saying that Mike McCarthy is a better coach than Sean Payton?
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm saying,
all right.
Innovation on offense is not the problem, as we just pointed out.
It was the problem against San Francisco.
Okay, they lost the game on a short week against a team that's better than them. Like, my problem with this is no one here is pointing out a specific solution that they want to address. Everyone's just like, oh, it ain't work, blow it up. Like, you don't need an offensive innovator. Their offense is fine.
Exactly.
You don't need a new defensive coordinator. Their defense is fine. Like, it seems to me that the strategy that you guys are presenting is if they're the Texans. Like, if you're the worst team in the league, then you're like, all right, sure, can't get no worse. Knock all the pieces off the table.
So we're saying they need to get more talented. Is that the case? They need to get more talented.
Every team needs to get more talented, but I think you can point to specific areas on the team where they could use positional upgrades.
Sure. My whole point is this: sometimes you need a head coach that can find a way to navigate around not having the most talented team on the field in order to be the difference in the outcome of games. And what I am telling you is if we look at the last 2 playoff losses for the Dallas Cowboys, you can pin some of that on Mike McCarthy. Is there any good reason? Hold on, let me finish. Is there any good reason why he didn't take a timeout with 2:40 left in that game in the fourth quarter?
When they were punting.
And he let it run down 30 seconds on the clock when you had the 2-minute warning.
Question?
Is there any good reason?
Sure.
Just like we talk about quarterbacks, there's levels of coaching. Are there levels of coaching?
Yes.
And we always talk about the National Football League. Coaching matters more so in the National Football League than any other league.
Yep.
Okay, so you sitting here talking about the offense is straight, the defense is straight. So what else is there then?
They lost it back-to-back years to Kyle Shanahan, who we talk about there's levels of coaching from an offensive standpoint. There's Kyle Shanahan and there's everyone else. So that's something we can point out there.
So, okay.
Also, hold on.
Okay, so aren't you making my point right there? Aren't you making my point?
Wait, let Nick go. Let Nick go. Go ahead,
If you
Tom.
can hire Kyle Shanahan, then by all means.
What is Sean Payton then?
Mike McCarthy.
Sean Payton was Kyle Shanahan before Kyle
But
Shanahan.
here's my question. You guys want to blow up the Cowboys. Do you want to blow up the Bills too? Do you want to blow up some other teams?
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
we can have that conversation. Let's not set fire over there to ignore this one. We talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
But again, you don't just need to shake something